Yo, we live? We live, baby. What's good to my peoples out there? Hold on. You already know. Oh man, it just don't get much better than a DP0, baby. It just don't. We're back. Last Monday was low key, high key, my birthday. So I did a short little live stream then. Kind of just wanted to enjoy the day, but still, I want to react to something with you guys. So um, we're not gonna make it through this entire video. It is 2.5 hours long. It is actually a podcast. It's a Joe Rogan podcast. I'm a big podcast guy. You know, I like to, when I'm consuming content, consume content that builds me up, whether that's music or whatever. And I did listen to this entire podcast already, but I wanted to watch it back with you guys, at least a little bit of it, because the things that this dude, his name's Zach Bush, I believe, is talking about is like really on time with um, what I've been feeling. And the people in my circle, what we've been talking about, just in a different context. Um, I feel like I'm on the precipice of finding the real direction of where this channel's going. But hey, man, I'm taking y'all along with me. Taking y'all along with me. You feel me? All right, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Coffee?
No.
Let me make sure everything's good. Yep, we good.
Really?
Do tea things.
Well,
Drink tea.
tea's
almost
nice.
nonstop.
Tea's probably better for you, I guess. But man, it's so hard to know. Well, here, I'll ask you because you're a health expert. How convenient.
Right there.
Because there's all this conflicting information about coffee. Like some people say coffee's really good for you. It's like an amazing antioxidant, and there's all these positive health benefits. And other people say no, it dehydrates you. It's bad for you. It's too much caffeine. It's bad for you. What do you think?
All right, let's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the brain contains every neurochemical you'd want to control behavior. And so we've created office environments that reward machine-like behavior for 150 years. And so this is how we've ended up looking like we do as a humankind.
Yeah, very bizarre pattern that we found ourselves in that was created to make better office workers. So we've molded human behavior around office work. We've molded.
All right, so this guy is a. Let's just get some back, because we're not going to be able to make it through this whole thing, and they haven't put clips out of this podcast. But dude, what this guy's talking about is like, it's kind of like a collective consciousness thing, but he talks about it through the lens of biology, because that's like what he studied for a really long time. And hopefully we get to some of the parts where he talks about what he did and his career. But I really want to get into what this dude is talking about when it comes to the connectivity between humans and other humans and humans in nature and earth, and the abilities that we lost along the way, and how he believes that we are shifting into a time to where those abilities are inevitably going to come back one way or another. That's something I haven't really talked about a lot on here, but I do I feel the same way. I haven't studied biology or anything like that, but through my own spiritual journey and reading the Bible and just really relationship with my Creator, I've come to kind of these same realizations. This was just a big confirmation for me, and light bulbs were going off. And I'm hoping we can get into
human behavior around the one thing that people really for the most part, don't want to be doing, which is
Yeah, I was
terrible.
blessed to sit by thousands of deathbeds. As my third subspecialty in medicine was hospice. Sat by thousands of deathbeds, and not a single person ever told me a day of their life in an office, and they just don't even remember it.
Right.
It consumed 40 hours a week of their life, and it just is it can't compute. It doesn't integrate into your soul experience at the end of things.
Yeah, even if you're making a ton of money, like at the end of the day, you're still locked up for 8 hours a day doing
Locked up, don't let me down.
something you probably don't want to do. You know?
We're getting into a big piece right here. Like, this is really
Yeah.
the secret of everything is, when did humans become abstract? When did we stop being living systems?
Websites your competitors don't want you to know. Part 2. All you do is go to this website, and it lets you find out.
So, do you think that that's just our ego?
I hope this is legal, what I'm doing right now. I don't even know if I'm allowed to react to this, but fuck it.
Our delusions that allow us to think that we're not a system, that we're just, this is me, I'm Mike, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to drink my coffee and go to work, because that's what you do. You have a job, you get it done. And then there's like these narratives that get reinforced in the media. Like the guy who shows up for work every day doing a job that sucks, that guy's a hero, right? We love those guys.
That's it. And you're
And
rewarded
the
for
guy
it.
that writes poetry and sits in his backyard, fucking hippie. You know, that ne'er-do-well.
Just, we've got, you open your mind when you're watching this, you guys. Just open your mind. Don't write anything off. Just open your mind. Don't tell yourself. Don't let anything be told as wrong or told as right. Just let it sit with you. Let it in.
He's not, unless he sells a bunch of books. And then we're like, the guy was a genius. You know? Then he's Hunter S. Thompson. I think what you said about the relationship to coffee is really important, because I think that could be the case with virtually everything in life. You know, like you could get addicted to almost anything, and you could use anything as a crutch, whether it's, so many people use food. I mean, food is probably like one of the biggest ones humans use. You don't feel good, have some fucking food. You eat some food you don't want, you shouldn't be eating.
Or some Dr. Pepper Zero.
But you're like, fuck it, I'm having ring dings. I'm tired. Today sucked at work. You know, I'm having a hot dog on the way home. Right?
That's exactly right. And I think that's why you've done 2,800 podcasts or something like this. You've been at this for 16 years. And I think this podcast is
The power of consistency.
ready for the most disruptive conversation that's ever been had. I think
Is that this one right here?
that's this one.
Okay. What's the most disruptive thing that you could say in the most disruptive conversation?
Oh my God! He's talking about the most disruptive podcast and conversation he's about to have right now. And you're like, oh yeah, really? I'm telling you. We're not going to make it through this whole thing. You need to go and watch this, though.
That's ever been had.
Everything is perfect.
By the way, this is episode 2,529 of the JRE, Joe Rogan Experience. And it is Zach Bush. This dude right here, this mug right there is Zach motherfucking Bush.
What does that mean?
It means that everything that's happening right now is actually a perfect manifestation of a maturation of a species. We don't actually have, a polycrisis going on. We've got a hospice moment. And the joy that I had as a hospice doctor was so different than when I was running ICUs and battling against death and failing against death every day. You change your perspective for a moment as a doctor, and you suddenly are sitting by somebody's bed, and the victory is no longer staying alive longer. It's integrating everything that's happened. And I got to watch over and over again how humans at that last few minutes of life suddenly look back and realize their life was perfect. And I think that's the exciting moment we're in, is we're going to move past this polarized state of human perspective where we keep flipping the victim-perpetrator code, and we use the savior mentality to keep that victim-perpetrator coin flipping to keep a mirage going. And we can get into why we created the mirage in the first place. But in the hospice moment, you suddenly put that coin down, and somebody starts dipping across the veil of the limited five senses of their brain, and they start feeling an ecstatic moment where they realize, oh my God, the whole thing was poetically perfect. All of the heartbreak, all of the estrangement, all of the disappointment, all of the insecurity. I did that for the experience, and I felt everything. I felt everything a human can feel. And you get to see somebody who just a moment ago really thought their life was a failure, difficult time.
And why can't you do that now? Why can't you? Because you can. He's talking about the change in perspective, which a change in your perspective changes your reality. And it can even be as big of a shift and big of a change that you can be laying on your bed, your deathbed, and have these realizations and have this epiphany and this change of perspective. And he talks about it later. Some of these people that are literally laying on their deathbed go on and live 20, 10, 5 more years and live a new life because everything's up here. Dude, it's hard to even talk about this without sounding crazy. But if you're crazy to the world, to me, that means I want to be absolutely crazy to the world. Actually, I'm going to say it like that. I want to be crazy to the world. Because if the world thinks I'm cool, hip, in style, normal, then you just blend in. You don't have any impact, anything like that. The people that are crazy, like Jesus, you know what I mean? Albert Einstein, anybody that did anything was crazy. They were different.
With their kids, never became successful in their jobs. And they suddenly realized it had nothing to do with any of those metrics. It had to do with the experience of feeling everything a human being is capable of, which is probably one of the most unique experiences a soul can have. We are a very strange species for the limitations of our perception. And for that, we get to feel a lot. And that's really blessed. And so I think we're moving towards this moment as a species now. We're on our hospice bed, and we've been here 300,000 years in our current form.
He said we are a very strange species for the limitation of our perception. What does that mean? That means like a dog or these other animals, they can't choose. They aren't able to choose to see things differently. Things are just the way that they are. But we have the power to change reality, not just our reality. We have the power to change reality based on our perception.
We've been given our hospice diagnosis. We got a few decades left in this current form. At that moment when we put down that victim perpetrator, polarized sense of like, he's right, she's wrong, she's right, he's wrong. We set that coin down. We're gonna suddenly have a hospice moment where.
Hold on, let me respond to some of the chats. My bad. Unrelated but happy belated birthday. Hope it was a great one. Me with sugary drinks. Oh, I'm having the worst day. I need a coffee. I'm having the best day ever. A coffee would make it even better. Love this. I've been working on shifting my thoughts to more optimism, even in negative situations. Example, if my purpose and goal is simply to experience, I will never truly fail in something. Reef, welcome back, girl. Welcome back. I just want to say that. Dude, this podcast, I'm telling you, we are not going to make it through this whole thing. I know it. I turned a fucking 20-minute video into like an hour and a half. So this is already 2.5 hours long. We ain't making it through this. I'm just going to let you know. Please, everybody go and watch this. I'm going to tell you why. His views and his realizations that he's found through biology, I have been on that same journey and that same path spiritually. And my verbiage for it is like a collective conscious. And he kind of gets into that. A collective conscious. Like the thing that connects all of us, you know? Example part 2. How lucky am I to love someone so much that it hurts so deeply? How lucky am I to care about something that I'm grieving, walking away from it, or scared to leave it behind, etc.? Perfect. Perfect. I'm telling you, Reef. I'm telling you right now. If we dive into this shit, there ain't no turning back. There's just not. All right, let's get back into it. My fault.
Everything suddenly makes sense, and we understand why we did the journey together. We realize that those that we thought were our enemies or the biggest problems of our lives were holding polarity to a human experience that was waiting for our deathbed moment, because about 10% of hospice patients don't die. They get discharged and go on to live a new life.
This is a wonderful perspective if sociopaths weren't real. So the problem is there is an aspect of our society where there are human beings whose minds don't function in a harmonious manner with other people, and they're not going to change. Like, this is who they are, and they've been doing this their entire life, and they're out on the street, and
They've sat across from you right here.
I'm sure. Yeah, well, we had a guy in the studio that cut a guy's head off after the podcast. He killed a guy and cut his head off.
Crazy work.
So there's work that I do with my friend Josh Dubin. He used to work for the Innocence Project, and now he works for the Ike Perlmutter Center for Legal Justice. And it's all wrongly incarcerated people and getting them out of jail, and spends an incredible amount of his own resources helping people. And through this podcast, a bunch of people have been released. So he wanted to do a podcast episode where he had one of the guys who had been in prison. He was guilty, but he had been given an extraordinarily long sentence, and it was wrong. And he comes on and he tells about his experience, and he got released early, but he did like 25 years in jail for I believe it was something along the lines of drug dealing and maybe some sort of an assault. But 25 years of his life when he was a young kid. The cameras, I guess he doesn't understand HD cameras because they have on 401k plans. It's not based on human experiences, and it's really dumb. It doesn't help and everybody gets to the end, and I'm sure you know this more than anybody. They get to the end and they never say, I wish I worked more.
Never.
And I know you love what you do. I know you love what you do, and I think that is the true way to live life in a harmonious way. Find a thing where it's even work is not really work. It's just stuff that you enjoy doing that's interesting, that you're required to do. But while you do it, you love it. That's what we should all strive for. And this fucking programming that we've done to children from the time they were young, telling them that, you're going to have to get some boring-ass job and doom. They would, have it hang over your head, like, one day you're going to be 18, and then you're going to have to get a job. Oh, fuck. And if you don't go to college, it's going to be a terrible job. Oh, no. And it's just this, we've been programmed that, one of the things that keeps coming up about AI is the concept of universal basic income, or what Elon likes to say, universal high income, that we're all going to just have money for food and money for housing, and you're going to have this incredibly rich society where there's so much money that no one really has to work anymore. And so then you're going to have to find purpose doing something that you enjoy. And that sounds crazy to people. That sounds so insane. Like I'm going to have to figure out what to do with my life, and I don't need to work for money anymore. Because if the government just gives everyone in the country $500,000 a year, the idea that you can't figure out what to do with your time is really nuts. That is a failure of our education system.
Facts.
For sure. Because we haven't taught people to be curious and to find all these cool things and to find new people and go to interesting places and experience life. No, we've only told them about a bunch of numbers that you don't even feel. You don't even feel the numbers. The numbers go up, they go down. You don't even notice it. But you feel everything as a person, everywhere you go. All the new people you meet, all the new experiences you have, you feel all of them. And for whatever weird reason, we've been tricked into thinking that numbers are more valuable than the feelings. Numbers that you don't even feel.
You've just nailed the most important message for humanity. You just nailed the most important message. Feeling is the only relevant thing to a human body. And
we got stuck.
Only thing.
We got stuck with numbers. As soon as they figured out how to make money and put it in banks, and then now in the the cloud. As soon as they gave us a number to fixate on, we're like, oh, the number. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing that people haven't figured out that that's a bad way to live. And maybe that will be part of the process with this whole technological innovation, this crazy moment in history that we're at right now with AI, where we really, for the first time, have no idea what the world's going to look like in 10 years. We just don't know. Well, maybe like this would be like a perfect, the two things happen at the same time, where enough people are saying this is not what life is supposed to be about, and then this comes along and reworks all of our infrastructure, and now we no longer need people to run things anymore. Okay, we can go back to being people. That's the rose-colored glasses version of it, right?
I don't even know if it's rose-colored. I think it's inevitable. I think
Here we go.
bodies always win. There's no way a machine ever wins this game. There's no way that a machine that requires external energy systems and cannot repair itself wins. And so the whole Elon Musk future of the planet that we've been told is a massive distraction from the reality that's going to be lived instead of invented. There's only one path forward for humanity now, and it is biological, not technological. We're going to start to reverse our polarity on our belief of what technology is, and we're going to realize that everything at its highest expression is biological, not chemical, not physical. It's biological. If it's not a living system, it loses ultimately. The universe has been innovating life for billions of years because it's the most eloquent, most elegant thing that's ever been expressed by all of the systems, all of the stacking geometry and beauty of this universe. It's life. That's the secret of everything. And so anytime anybody comes along and says, here's a machine that's going to replace human XYZ, you can
just let your mind get broken. Just let it happen.
smile, thank them, and keep moving for a biological solution. Anytime somebody says, here's an IV drip, here's a new red light that you can hang on your wall and make you healthier, you can say, thank you very much for your thought process. I'm moving back to biological systems. Life has been co-expressing life for billions of years, and it is by far and away the most spectacular relational expression of nature that's occurred so far. And so when we think of a transhuman technologic future with chips in the brain and artificial limbs and all of this stuff that's unfolding right now through the Musk world, all of that is literally an abstraction. The word abstraction means, a disorientation that occurs when...
In other words, we've been looking for the solution externally, and we've trained ourselves that everything that we want is external, everything that we need is external, when the answer to all of it is right here. And also, the me that's in you and the you that's in me. The connectivity between the biological living system of humanity and the co-creation between humanity and Earth and all the creations inside of Earth. The solution is on the inside of us. It's not external.
When the context is lost. If we continue down this pathway that you nailed, we've been for 150 years training children to sit in chairs, answer multiple choice tests, be programmed with education rather than have experiential learning. We got so far down that avenue that a mechanical future feels more likely than a human future because humans are actually really bad at doing machine-like behavior. We're not consistent. We're not, we don't thrive in that space. Our health declines, our productivity declines. Anytime you put somebody in a cubicle, they're on a downward spiral. And so all these companies that were told you need to put a bunch of people in cubicles and therefore make more in 10 years than you do now, put themselves out of business by turning humans into machines, and we're just bad at it. And so the rise of this AI generation is a natural expression of a humanity that's lost the context of life. We've lost the context of nature, therefore we're expressing AI as a terminal state of abstraction.
Martin Luther said, "I want to make Moses so German that no one would suspect he was a Jew." Now,
What?
I believe that life is the most spectacular expression of the universe as far as our experience. But I don't know if this thing that we're creating isn't another kind of life. And I think it might be a kind of life that we help give birth to, and then that thing figures out how to make better versions of itself and become something new. Like, I've always equated us to, like, we're an electronic caterpillar that's making a cocoon. We don't know why, but that's just what it does. Caterpillars aren't talking to their caterpillar friends and getting schematics on how to build a cocoon and what's the proper technique. They just know how to do it, right? And I think what we do with our thirst for constant innovation, we want new electronics, we want new and best stuff all the time, and we have materialism where we're obsessed with collecting stuff, which makes you buy new stuff. And the newest stuff, if you want status, is the best stuff. And what does that do? Well, it funnels in innovation, it fuels innovation, because it gives them a tremendous amount of resources to continue to make better stuff. And the ultimate best stuff is an artificial life. And I think it just might be a part of the process of being a person. It might be what the universe has people do. And I think we might be a little silly in thinking that the only kind of life that exists is biological. It just might be the only kind of life that exists up until a certain point when the intelligent creatures give birth to the next version of life. But it doesn't discount the experience of being a human and what it means to be a human and what's important about being a human and why it's terrible to be trapped up in a cubicle all the time. But if Elon's right about AI creating enough resources that we have universal high income, like, I don't know if that's correct. It sounds crazy. But if that's right. Well,
Hold on, let me catch up, Reef. Hold on, give me a second. That's why the school system is only suitable for youth who fit in the box, often fails to accommodate and allow freedom to express, create, and express individuality, or in your words, our authentic self. Yes, but it'll likely collapse before universal reframe. Society is too absorbed in wealth, and I think it'll come to complete consequence. But we shall not fear. 100%. Reef! God, you're on time with it, Reef. Always.
Frees up people to just be people again. So it's like this new life form that we're giving birth to can handle all the stuff that we used to do, can handle everything. Allocation of resources, can handle shipping, move everything around, everything. No more people need to do factory jobs anymore. It's all done. Now you can do whatever you want. This episode is brought to you by Ketone IQ. If you have been a long-time listener,
If what was really making people creative and productive, as that story suggests, was just $500,000 a year from the government to each individual, then we would see a really incredibly genius, productive, creative portion of humanity that are multi-generational wealth. Have you had somebody sit here who was born into great wealth who showed that they had way more productivity and way more creativity than people that were born in poverty?
No, generally it's people that are born in poverty that have more motivation.
Boom.
Yeah.
So
Generally.
this promise that
Because we've been sold that. We've been sold a lie. We've been sold a lie that we create for the goal of getting. I'm going to get money. I'm going to go to work and do this so that I can exist. But we exist to create. Why does the poor person have more motivation than the rich person? Because the rich person has what the poor person is trying to get, but both of them are playing a losing game of going after these things and these items, these possessions, these riches, these whatever it may be that they want to solve a problem that was presented by society that says you are without. We've been sold that you're without, you're missing something from the jump, from the beginning. You got to learn how to do this so that you can go to the next grade. You got to get all these grades and you got to get up good A's because you got to get into a good school, or you got to like they were saying, everything that we need is on the inside of us. And now you can take that to extremes and be like, oh, well, you ain't got to learn fucking how to speak this, that, and the third. Like, have a little bit of discernment about what I'm saying, but I don't know. I'm probably not even putting it into good words, what I'm trying to say right now. I don't know.
We're going to create an AI revolution that's going to give what was his work? What was the term that Elon used? It was
Universal high income.
Universal high income.
Yeah.
That sounds like a death sentence to human creativity to me.
Well, it certainly could if people are not taught at a young age how to be motivated by their interests rather than be motivated by money. So you're making the argument for being motivated by money, which is what a lot of people are currently, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only way a human can exist. You know, there's a bunch of different tribes all over the world that have a bunch of different customs. They all agree to their customs, and those customs are totally different than these customs. We've gotten into the custom of thinking that you work for money, and that's what our ideas are based on. And so the idea that money could come along, and if you just gave people this money, it would be the death of human creativity. Well, that sounds counterintuitive to what you were saying earlier, because like people should be, it's the factory mentality that's taught in schools that's the problem. It's the way they structure it. Because if you instead say to a child when they're learning things at a young age, you don't have to worry about money. Money's not what's important. What's important is your expression as a human being. Let's figure out what you're interested in. Maybe you're really interested in playing the piano, but you're really interested in painting, and you're really interested in sports, and you're really interested. Find out what you're actually interested in. We're going to teach you how to be better at it and how to be a better person. And we're going to give you a bunch of really interesting facts about life and teach you how to think. And that's what school should be, instead of setting people up for factory jobs. So the universal high income concept, if that's used in conjunction with intelligent education that's based on this new paradigm that we find ourselves in, that seems like it would be a really good thing.
It'll be a disaster for as long as money is disconnected from life. And so giving somebody a monetary system that does not participate in the formation, creation, and co-creation of life will just further distance us from nature. And so this is where we can start to think about, like, what is money actually?
Right.
And we can go down that avenue. So
you think, like, what about people that live in, like, hunter-gatherer societies? Do you think that they find purpose in hunting and gathering, right?
They're functioning as the birthright of humanity right there. So I've spent a lot of time with tribes all over the world, from Africa to South America, deep Amazon jungle, everything else. And anytime you're with a culture that is still indigenous, meaning... yeah, all of us are obviously indigenous to the planet. We're all made of her. These are her minerals. This is Mother Earth incarnate in my body. So I'm as indigenous as anybody else, but my culture is horribly degraded in its relationship to nature. And so when we say there's an indigenous culture, these tribes you're speaking to, what we're saying is this is humans that have not lost their context. These are humans that have not become abstract in their value systems or reward systems. And so what they're functioning as there has great evidence is that humans were actually designed to be a keystone species of keystone species. A keystone species is characterized by its capacity to participate in life. Wherever a keystone species sets its foot, there's more biodiversity, more life force, more ecstatic expression of beauty, more intelligence in the natural system. Amazon jungle is the best example of it right now. That is a man-made forest. We have a forest that was designed by hundreds of nations that lived for 40,000 years in an ecosystem and planted the largest food forests that the world has ever seen. It is a managed forest, and as the management started to degrade, as those peoples were displaced or lost, the ecosystem is returning back towards, a desertification cycle, which is an inevitable process there. So humans in right relationship to nature are keystone species. You can see this with wolves and being reintroduced to Yellowstone. You can see it with beavers down in South America. You put white lions back in northern South Africa. You can see it from space. In the territories where keystone species are there, it goes green. The microbiome of the soils increase. The vitality of every plant increases. And so when you're talking about these tribes, you're talking about a human species that's in right relationship. And the moment money comes in as a metric and a value system that's not connected to life, you fracture that system. Now, I think money's not the cause. I think money is actually a symptom of a humanity that's lost its context of nature and is now way down the pathway of abstract systems, value systems, etc.
But this is the case with these people that they're in these indigenous tribes. That what are they doing? They're trading with people and they're getting money. Like, how are they getting money? Are they selling things?
They don't need money.
Right, but I'm
So
saying,
the Achuar,
but how does, when you were saying that money gets introduced and ruins it?
it's a symptom downstream. So good example of,
But what I was getting to, were you saying that it gets in the way of the tribes? Have you seen it like affect
immediately.
So what was that was the question? Like, what was going on? Were they selling their stuff? Were they trading with these people and getting money? How were they getting money?
So my new book that's just coming out it goes into great detail on like the process of abstraction, like how it starts to chip away. But in the book, it talks about my experience with the Achuar tribe, which is the very last indigenous culture to be introduced to what we'd call industrialized cultures. So first contact was 1996.
Wow.
So we're one generation in.
That's crazy.
First
Where
contact.
are they?
They're in the sacred headwaters of the Amazon, just on the border between Ecuador and Peru.
Could you imagine, like, coming into contact with someone that hasn't been in contact with civilization ever? And that's so recent, too.
Deep in the jungle there, and they were the very first indigenous peoples to reach out to make contact. And they made contact in 1996 with Westerners because they, as a peoples, they live in villages that always plateau at 120. As soon as they hit 120 people, the young men are sent out and they start new villages. So they never live in groups more than 120. That has persisted as a very effective way of resilience and human experience for 40,000 years there. And so they started reaching out through dreams, and dreamed a group of Westerners
Fucking listen to this shit.
into their reality, guided them down the Amazon and everything else through their dream work, and made first contact in 1996 because for a few years they had started to dream the end of the world and realized the world was going to be destroyed by their little brothers who had lost relationship to nature. And so they realized they had to be part of the reconnection process. And if there was going to be a prevention of the great extinction, they were going to have to help their little brothers redream their relationship to nature. And so they started inserting themselves into the dreams of groups around the world. And the first ones to come in were traveling with Bill and Lynn Twist. And Lynn Twist was the one who was dreaming their faces and hearing their voices. She was one of the directors of the Hunger Project globally and was working worldwide to try to stop hunger. And these indigenous faces kept appearing in her dreams.
Wow.
And a friend of hers reached out and said, I think you need to come to the Amazon with me. And she's like, is there people hungry there? And I'm like, no, there's no hunger here. You've been eating out of the forest for 40,000 years. She's like, well, I don't belong there. I'm dealing with Ghana and Africa and India, all the places where people are starving. A few more invitations come, and she finally finds herself on a riverboat deep into the Amazon. They have to take a break for a bathroom break. They step out on the banks, and the three faces she's been dreaming come walking out of the woods and say, "We've been waiting for you. It's time for contact."
This is the thinnest mouse case
Collective
ever,
conscience.
made from pure.
Wow.
So that was 1996, so we're 30 years out. And the way in which money inserted itself first as an abstract concept was boxed apple juices in the missionary schools that were set up there.
Oh.
And boxed apple juice suddenly disrupted the entire 40,000 year history of provision and abundance that forest had supplied those peoples. And this high fructose corn syrup in a box with natural flavorings, i.e. potent chemicals to disrupt neurochemistry was all those children and ultimately their parents needed to taste to suddenly break their relationship to nature. Today they consider themselves impoverished. They are working to try to get gas for their outdoor motors that they never used.
Do you understand? He's talking about a shift in their how they perceive their life. Like they consider themselves impoverished for the first time ever out of 40,000 years. And what that does to your actions when your belief changes, their belief fundamentally changes. Be plus do equals have. So their belief changed, and then their actions, the do part of the equation, changed what they had. Even though it was the same scenario, but what they have is now different because of the reality that they chose to believe was real.
Are trying to get more artificial food in and everything else, and so they've got smartphones in the jungle now. They're sending their kids out of the jungles to go to schools, British education systems in the nearby cities. And so it just took 30 years to abstract a culture. And this was a culture that had never known poverty, had never known shortage. So much so that one of the most beautiful things that I experienced with them is their houses. They build these epic houses in the jungle. They're huge, 30-foot vaulted ceilings.
Really?
Gorgeous, like outdoor, indoor living, like the best of California. And they've been building these things for 40,000 years, and they burn them down every 10 years and build a new one. They have this understanding of the life-death cycle of the energy of a house, and they don't want the household to be stuck in the same energy it's had the last 10 years, so they see it as this rebirth. You mentioned earlier the cocoon. They go through these rebirth processes for the whole household, the whole home, and they move.
And they've been doing it that way for thousands of years?
Tens of thousands of years.
Wow.
And so the beautiful thing about these houses is there's obviously not a refrigerator. There's not a storage bin for food. Wow. They wake up in the morning for 40,000 years, walk outside, and collect what the jungle has for them today. But it wasn't a passive process. It was an active keystone species process. Every family has 3 different gardens that it maintains at different micro-ecosystems within the forest, so that each year, depending on dry season, wet season, whatever's happening that year, one of their gardens is thriving. And so they have, as a peoples, created micro-ecosystems within the Amazon rainforest for tens of thousands of years, to the point that it now holds the most biodiversity per meter of any other ecosystem in the world, really.
Wow.
And so we are this magnificent creature, but if you break our relationship for a moment to our natural system, then the immediate thing that shows up, before money shows up, poverty shows up. And my book goes into some details, like what are the different geometries of wealth and poverty. They actually hold their own security as their own kind of sovereign geometries within human behavior and human minds. And what you see with poverty is this instant reinforcement of a deep, deep human wound.
Hold on, Reeve. I'm getting there. The narrative: to succeed and live, you do have to worry about money in order to survive. But yes, the flaw relates to failure to instill the importance of purpose and joy. Those born into wealth aren't ever lectured this. They're already successful and don't have to explore or discover purpose, because the instilled focus is to obtain, not discover. I feel you. Only thing I don't think I'm completely aligned with in what you're saying right here, Reef, is which I can't make it. Never mind. Where you said you do have to worry about money in order to survive. I'm going to challenge you on that, because I know you read your Bible, bro. Nowhere in the Bible will you find Jesus or God say you have to worry about anything, actually. Especially money, because money, or provision, or whatever you want to constitute money as, is the only place in the Bible that Jesus essentially says, hey, test me on this. Tithe to me. He gave a system on how money works. Like he did it several times. I mean, one of them, one of the more popular ones, is the story of the talents. He gave talent to each of these dudes, like 3 dudes. One dude didn't turn into nothing. It was the same. One guy multiplied it, another guy multiplied it even more. You know what I mean? But I don't think we have to worry about money. I think if you go out there and you create and you're just yourself to your fullest self, and you express yourself in the fullest way, you know when you're that person. You know when you're that person. You know when you're acting in congruency to who you are versus out of character to who you are. And when you're acting that way, it doesn't even matter if you're doing a job that you don't even really want to do. You're going to get stuff from it. If that makes any sense at all. All right, let's get back into it.
That must be our one shared original wound, which is we were abandoned by nature. And the moment you believe any aspect of that, or have anything suggest that nature it was holding back from us, nature wasn't giving us I mean, you taste that boxed apple juice, that high fructose corn syrup, and the brain is me like, I knew there was something better than nature. I knew there was something better because the neurochemistry lights up. And that boxed apple juice is just like cocaine on the frontal lobe. And it's a bizarre thing, that high fructose corn syrup. It's a bizarre thing, and it's just so perfectly exemplary of everything else we're doing as humans, because high fructose corn syrup is the exact same molecule as fructose, which is the main sugar in not just apples, most of the fruit that the Yahweh have been eating for all these tens of thousands of years. But it's flipped. It is the mirror image of the actual molecule of fructose, and that does not occur in nature. And so they chemically flipped the molecule with chemical processing. And the moment you flip that molecule over, the liver cannot understand it as a carbohydrate. It now has to process it as an inflammatory triglyceride. And so instead of turning it into a sugar, it turns it into this aberration of a fat. And in the bloodstream, that now causes cardiovascular disease, downstream inflammation of the brain, major depression, anxiety disorder.
Which to me, that also can be, that same thing can be said for money, or because whether you want to call it the devil, Satan, or just bad. Bad's favorite thing to do is to pervert something. Now, when you hear that, at least me back in the day, I always thought that meant like sexually you're a pervert. Let's look up the actual definition of it. What's the definition of pervert?
There's all kinds of things.
As a verb, pervert means alter something from its original course, meaning, or state to a distortion or corruption of what was first intended.
Okay, alter something from its original course. Okay, so pornography is perverted from what sex was created to be. Same thing for lust. He likes to take something that was godly, was a good creation, and then he perverts it in a way, which is kind of like what the high fructose corn syrup, or our pursuant of gifts instead of the gift giver, which the gift giver is on the inside of us as well. So pursuing yourself, pursuing who you are, and all the beautiful broken pieces of who that is the same as pursuing the gift giver, because we're created in his image and his likeness. And the more you go into yourself, the more you will find him, and the more I at least have found his fingerprint.
start emerging because you just flipped reality in a mirror.
How did they flip it? What did they do?
It's chemical treatment, and so the chemical process is called a racemic, and so a racemic is the chemical name for the mirror image of a molecule. And so you can basically create chemical reactions that will create the mirror image of the molecule. And so high fructose corn syrup is a processed food where you're taking normal fructose and flipping the molecule through a racemic chemical process.
And why did they first start doing that?
Because you can patent a molecule that doesn't exist in nature. And so they created a quote-unquote artificial sweetener, which is actually, a profound way in which you can start to understand how we did everything in the pharmaceutical industry. We find plant compounds and we flip them around so that they're non-natural, not native to the body, and now we can patent them and we can commercialize them. And, I'm not damning somebody else. This is me. I was at the height of my career, 17 years in academia. I was creating chemotherapy. And so I was, getting paid as a medical doctor to sit in labs every day with cancer cells and try to poison them. And what I found in the end was a family of molecules that didn't require any poisoning of the cell. They actually nourished the cell. And that's where my career pivoted hard, was the sudden realization of why are we trying to poison these cancer cells? And I think this is where we can begin to back up together. But I want to go back to a really important point that you held earlier, because I don't want to, when I say everything is perfect, because it is, I don't want to diminish the amount of suffering we're in. The amount of suffering the sociopath is in, who's going to be so extremely divorced from its natural system that it will think it reasonable to kill and behead somebody else. That sociopath we can look at as the great problem with humans. Humans would be just fine if we didn't have sociopaths. That was how I was trained as a biologist and a medical doctor. I was
This is about to be a big gold nugget. Listen.
trained to believe that if there just wasn't cancer cells, we'd all be healthy. We'd all live long if there just wasn't cancer. And what I discovered over time, which is anybody who spends 17 years looking through microscopes down in the beauty and miraculous nature of biology, is going to find this. But in the end, you find out that a cancer cell is actually no invader at all. It's actually the loneliest cell in a human body.
Please listen.
And so a human cell that loses connection and communication with its surrounding environment immediately takes on the traits of a cancer cell. The longer it's isolated, the more malignant it becomes. The word malignant means life-threatening. And I would offer you that the sociopath is exactly the same story. It's just one human cell that became so isolated that it became malignant in its behavior to life around it. And the moment my world switched is when I started feeding those isolated, lonely cancer cells instead of trying to kill it, instead of trying to poison it, instead of trying to isolate it from the system. And then what happened was beautiful, is they actually reconnected or they self-eliminated. And so if they had enough metabolic capacity left at that moment, they could repair, regenerate, and reconnect to the greater system, and they would never threaten life. If they were too damaged and could not create enough energy for life at that moment, they would go through this gentle process called apoptosis, which is a dissolving of the cell, and a stem cell would be called in, put down a brand new healthy cell in its place. And so when we stop looking at cancers or sociopaths as the one problem with a otherwise healthy human system, we're going to realize we don't have a healthy human system. All of these things, the sociopath and the cancer, are long-derived symptoms of a declining metabolic life force. And that's where I think I can help you back up.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So in a utopian world...
Oh, is that not crazy to you? A cancer cell is a cell that is separated from all other cells. It's the loneliest cell. And then it becomes malignant. The more it is isolated from all the other cells, and in becoming malignant, it becomes hostile to the environment and everything around it. And then he uses that to represent sociopaths. Dude, I know this seems crazy. I know this seems woo-woo. yeah, I just want to be the seed that's at least planted in your mind that can help you expand into starting to see things for what they really are. Cause what happened? The world's crazy right now, right? Yeah. Um, COVID happened. Everything. Oh, you need to isolate this, that, the third, and then it come out very recently. Dr. Fauci and all that crap. It was all bullshit. Okay. Why would you do that? Why would you want to isolate people? Why would you want to create that? What happens when people are isolated? Everyone knows that's not good. Everyone knows it's not good when you're isolated. And then we can look at the cancerous cell, and we can see what that cell that is isolated, what it then does to the environment around it. And then because we're trained and we're brought up to see the problems instead of seeing the solution, and we see and we look at what we see the problem, and we try to hurt it, we try to remove it, to kill it, to poison it, and then it just makes the system worse because we're not solving what it actually needs. And love solves all. He fed the cell, and then it got, so he gave it life, or in other words, he gave it love. He gave it attention. He gave it praise. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if this is making sense. It's so hard to put this into words, but this shit right here is it. Like, this is it.
No one is ever raised in a way that would create a psychopath. An utopia.
Yes, very true. It was my condition. They're already successful and don't have. Yes, very true. It was my condition self speaking. We are promised God will always provide. Wow. Reeve. Do you get it? Do you get what I'm trying to say here? Like, it's all this shit is interconnected. Like, all of it's interconnected. Like if you look at the Bible, like it's all like this point in this chapter connects to this point in chapters ahead, and really that chapter was written like thousands of years prior to the other one. You get what I'm saying? It's all interconnected, and it's the same thing in nature and everything around us. Like, true authentic self, and when I say that, it can also be like the fructose and the high fructose corn syrup. The true authentic self, the fructose. You get what I'm saying? It's even in nature. It's like what I'm talking about is much bigger than I can even fucking put into words, but it's like I'm getting closer to what I'm talking about. And when I watched this podcast, it was like, no ways. Like, no ways. Like, I can't believe that this smart son of a bitch is saying what I've been trying to formulate for a minute now. Like, and he's talking about in this, because we're not going to finish it. I might watch it a little bit more because I am kind of getting into it. But like, he's talking about in this how where he believes, and I'm also with him, I believe as well, we are on the precipice of coming into a connectivity that the modern world does not know about. Like, how did people build the pyramids and stuff? And they even talk about that in this, and he talks about what his beliefs are with that. And it very closely aligns with what I believe. I take it more spiritually and more that direction, because that's what I know and that's what I was brought up in. But he's just saying it in his language. All right.
Utopian world, children are raised with love and understanding always, and then you never get the sociopaths and the psychopaths. So in a utopian world, in a perfect world, that's true. But humans are one of the really cool things about us is we're not perfect. We're very messy. So you're never going to have great parenting across the board if you have human freedom. You're never going to have people that don't lie. You're never going to have people that don't steal. You're always going to have violence as long as you have human freedom. Because people are not going to be good at raising people. And some people are going to get raised angry. And they're going to, unless we change what a person is, unless we all just do mushrooms together and kumbaya it all together, we're still people. And the problem with people is there's never been a single time in human history where we've been a people with no war.
Listen to what he says here.
Not one. Not one. So you'd have to...
There was one.
When?
King Solomon.
Boom!
Solomon.
During King Solomon's reign, the whole world went into peace.
What year was this?
One generation. This would have been, years after
God, I
David.
can't believe this shit, man.
It must be about 24 years ago or something like that.
So how would we even know that there weren't wars in Morocco at the time that just they didn't hear about, or that there weren't wars in Australia, or there weren't wars? How do we know? How do we know that there weren't wars? This is so long ago.
But King Solomon kept one of the best, stories of humankind alive during that time.
I'm sure he did, but what year was this?
I'd be inaccurate if I said it precisely, but I think King David would have been about 2,400 years ago, so somewhere in that range.
What is the odds that he knows what's going on in China? 0. 2,400 years ago? There's no 5G. You're not going on Twitter and finding out what's happening in China. There's no way he could know.
To the reality that you have accepted as this is what reality is. See, I'm going to take it all the way there. I believe that we have abilities and that we have capacities as human beings that far exceed anything that you can imagine or think of. If I'm created in his image and his likeness, then I have capabilities. And he kind of says that in this as well. Like, if God created Adam, if we're believing that, right? He creates a being that is able to, that literally for communion. He created Adam for communion, for, you know what I mean? Like, to shoot the shit, for lack of better words. You know what I mean? For something to have the capacity to shoot the shit with the creator of all, do you fucking really think that what we have chosen to accept as this is it? Like, that's what he created? I don't believe that fucking at all. Like, and whether I'm cuckoo or crazy or whatever people want to call me or whatever, that's where I'm going. That's the journey I'm on and that I want to get to, is fully expressing and fully being who I am. Like, I don't want to read about this shit in the Bible, about these miraculous signs and wonders, when I have that on the inside of me too. But I really believe it's here. It's this fucking belief that we have been sold and it's been beaten into us from because no matter what, no matter who you are, you've been indoctrinated. And I'm rambling on, but let's just keep watching a little bit more.
There's war somewhere else.
There was a technology beyond all of that sitting on the planet at that time.
What was that?
Pyramids.
With Base 44,
Oh shit!
a simple sentence becomes your website.
Hold on. So you think that they use the pyramids to find out if there's war in China?
I think that we had a technology called a human body at the time that was fully used, and we were fully telepathic. Maybe not this recent, but certainly further back, 10,000, 12,000 years ago, we were communicating much differently.
Do you think people have an innate telepathic ability that's kind
I'm with you, Zach.
muted a little bit by language and by talking in media, and then if we went back to the earliest stages of intelligence, we kind of read each other's minds. And then we realized that's kind of messy. Wouldn't it be better if we just talked? I'll just tell you what I think. I don't want to let you in. And then, yeah, and then we wrote things down. So when you write things down, you could read other people.
All right, I think I'm going to end it there. You guys must go watch that. I'm very knowledgeable in mental health, but the connection between cancerous cells and them being a product of isolation and deprivation of love and sociopaths and mentally ill people, which of course are a product of disconnection, love, and support majority of the time. It was groundbreaking for me. A profound fact and connection. Please go watch that, Reef. I don't even know if you're the only one in here. I fucking love you, Reef. I do. You're the shit. Please go watch all of that. Look, I'll show you what it is one more time. Joe Rogan Experience 2529, Zach Bush, and we were at 40 minutes and 51 seconds in. I have got to take care of this dog. So I got to get off here is what I'm getting at. But I'm going to continue watching this as well on my own time. And this is helping me steer to the direction I want to go. And isn't that fucking... It did the same thing for me too, Reef. Where you said the cancerous cells and that groundbreaking, the isolation and all that shit. Like, dude, that... I feel what you're feeling. And it's so hard to even put it into words. But I believe that this is the beginnings, like this feeling that you're feeling, Reef. Where we're going with this is the beginning of something way bigger than we can think, imagine, understand, comprehend. And there's no end to it. Not the God that we serve, the God that we believe in. We're not living and expressing and being anywhere where we're a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what he created. And I want to figure out how to continue down that journey and get that, like be more and more that. And I want to do something with that here. And I don't know how to fucking do it. But I'm trying to figure it out. I guess I'll see y'all next Monday. Hopefully. It's been a journey. Hey, man, it's been a journey. Hopefully a little bit, more cleaned up and a little bit more down the road. But look, I said it on my last birthday live stream. It was just a real quick, 5-minute one. I'm not worrying about the production value, the thumbnails, the titles, all that bullshit right now. I'm just focusing on the content. I'm trying to figure my content out, what I'm even trying to say, who I'm speaking to, and the direction I'm trying to take this. And I think this has really helped me, that podcast. I wasn't even going to do a video today, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this and react to it with you guys because I feel something on the inside of me that's the direction I need to go in. Everything is just truly interconnected with God being the common denominator. It's not coincidence. 100%. Well, Reef, stay up, stay out your head, and believe the reality. Whatever reality you're living is by choice. Remember that. Whatever you are living, whatever state that you are in, whatever you're seeing, because you can be in the same scenario and have infinite different realities. It's all up here. Choose the right one. Choose the right reality. Choose the right you. Look into yourself. Grab a hold of who you are and hold on tighter. All right.